Was for Good.
Was for Good.
At John's house.
That's right. Stephen Schwartz was playing piano.
Stephen Schwartz was playing piano, yeah.
Yes. That was the song, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was the first time we had ever sung together, and we sort of realized that our voices really worked together.
Yeah.
Like, not just technically, but like emotionally, we understood what our sort of patterns were.
Yes.
It was really lovely.
It was nice. Well,
they were all fully formed before, no?
They were fully formed.
Some things changed.
We can't talk about some of the things, because some of the ones that were you know, percolating, being created, are in the second movie.
Yes.
So we can't tell you that yet.
But I think Defying Gravity shifted from the stage show to this a lot. That's changed and expanded. The outro is different as well, yeah. I think less pressure, more responsibility. I felt very responsible about it. I was like, I'm responsible for this very folkloric piece of music, and I wanted to do it justice.
Yeah.
So I think it was very...
And you sure did.
Thanks, babe. Thank you. I was trying to make sure that the alphabets who'd come before me, who had sung this song many times before, felt like I wasn't taking too many liberties or going too far with things, but still being able to be true to myself and what felt right for me to sing as well. Yeah. I'm very proud of that piece. Yeah.
Oh, we decided that together. This was a no-brainer.
Yeah, we were both singing about it.
Yeah, we were both very adamant about it from the beginning. We were like, we have to do this. It's so important for these women, for these characters, for the comedic elements, to be able to surprise each other, and for the emotional integrity as well. You know, I mean, things come out different every single take, and also, we had to honor the ladies who have been doing this 8 shows a week for 21 years, who also sing it live. Yeah. So we had to join the fun, and we had to honor them. And no matter how long the day was, we were singing. We had to do it. We had to. Yeah. The material demands it.
Yeah, it does. And very much so.
It was all for the better, I think.
Yeah.
No, after.
So after. Yeah. So this is the soundtrack.
Yes. So what we did was we had rehearsal tracks in the very beginning that we would use to rehearse, and that our choreographers would use to choreograph, and John used it for like the storyboard and things like that. And then we sang live on set, and then after the filming, like way later, basically they just dumped everything into a beautiful, very organized Pro Tool session, so we could comp through the live takes, and that was one of my favorite parts. And that was really fun, and we got to go. I'm such a nerd.
It makes me so happy.
But we got to share that, and that was really fun. And one of my favorite parts about this, not to brag, but I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I got to sift through Cynthia's live takes of Defying Gravity and hear her little. If you solo the vocal, you hear her little footsteps in the background going up the stairs. For the second verse, and it was just really beautiful. I feel so lucky to have been so close to this, and I feel so lucky to have worked so closely on this soundtrack with Cynthia and with Stephen Schwartz and Remus and Greg Wells.
They were really lovely with us. We sort of were given a measure of, I guess control might not be the word, but a measure of responsibility.
They were very
collaborative. They allowed us to collaborate on that.
They took good care of us.
Yeah, so we.
And they didn't have to. They didn't have to.
No,
because it's literally been theirs for 21 years.
You know what? I've been such a fan of the show, and I've seen it over the years, many times actually. And so I think that the preparation for playing Fiero happened before I even knew they were going to do a film. And so I had an idea of, what's amazing about the source material, the original book, is that it's sort of so rich politically, and that it's complicated and nuanced, and there's an emotional tapestry to it that I think they built the musical on. And when you watch the musical, you see these characters are going through some extraordinary things. So I think the first step was to really work out, when, the opportunity of working with a camera and about how you can show them those sorts of nuances that maybe on stage is harder to find. But really, I had to learn how to dance and sing.
No, he came equipped with that. Isn't this a beautiful show? It is ambitious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Political and personal.
Yes.
But boy, it really hits the bullseye.
It's a zinger. Were you scared of him growing up?
Well, I love that movie. And the witches scared me. The winged monkey scared me. We have 2 boys, 7 and 9. I showed them that first time I showed them, they stopped it. They said, too scary.
Really, yeah.
And they pride themselves on, what's the scariest movie ever? And they want to see that. But I showed them this, and when that came, they didn't even know. I guess, did I know that I was going to be the wizard then? But the head comes in the fire, and he says, who are you? And they were like, okay, that's enough, turn it on. You know, they've since seen it and all that. Well, seeing the show, I know what I was going to say. Yes, I saw the show too when it first came to Broadway, and I saw Joel Grey do the part.
Yes.
And then, you know, when I knew I was going to do the part, I looked at everybody else doing the part that I could, because on YouTube you can go and see my friend Ben Vereen doing it, and you can see other people. I looked up
Nigel
as many people.
Did it in the UK.
You know, jazz musicians, I think, do that. Nobody records, My Funny Valentine without hearing everybody else's version to see if there's something that they can, they can depart from the continuum and do something contributive. I was teaching acting for a while, and sometimes lazy students would use the posture of, oh no, I don't want to see anybody else doing it because it's going to interfere with my original take on it. And I would often say to them, well, if that's who you are as an artist, let's discover that. But you're not even in the ballpark. Go see professional people do this, and you can make it your own.
So much.
You can always make it your own, and then see take good ideas, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, that's a little bit about that.
Well, it started, I was filming in a different country as they started filming, so I would pop in for a weekend and then fly back to Canada. And so I had a very short amount of time with the
What were you doing?
I was filming a miniseries called Fellow Travelers in Canada. And so I would come over, we'd have 10 hours together, and I'd have to then go away with a video, and I'd have to then practice that in my lunch breaks and on the flight home. It was always, Chris had sort of worked in the phrasing of the story. He knew that it was going to start in the library, and we knew that somehow we were going to interact with everyone. I thought it was really important that there's not one person that Fiyero doesn't whip into a frenzy. So that was where we started, and then the detail just sort of grew from there. But it was just little ideas and conversations, and he would work on it, and there was an amazing dance. There was amazing dancers that supported me, and there's someone in Toronto who I work with, and so it just started from there, and it's amazing when you start chipping away. It feels overwhelming at first, but if you just stick with it and you're working with extraordinary people like we were.
That whole team, your dance is so fantastic in that. But that whole team, Chris, that he talked about, that's the Chris Scott, the choreographer, who's worked with John M. Chu, fantastic, beautifully as Alice Brooks, the cinematographer, on several other things. And early on, John M. Chu would say, hey, here's how I think the different sections of the song may go. And then Chris, go off with Chris, and I told him the same thing, and he's going to interpret that, and he's going to use your body, and you're going to collaborate and come up with something. And I would do the same thing. I'd never heard you say that. He came up with something, we filmed it.
Yep.
And then I'd go home and practice it every
practice in front of your wife.
Practice.
Did you perform it to your family?
Yes, I did. I do it for people. I did it for them. I did it a lot
for the birds. It's nature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then
you end up dancing wherever you go.
And changed it a little bit. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, it was all about balancing and seeing what works between us two, a lot of push and pull, and they had a authentically disabled person in a wheelchair who was the choreographer, which was great and a dancer, so she had experience dancing, so she was so good at knowing how to move throughout the space, and she moves a little bit differently than I am because her disability is a little bit different than mine, but we are similar in the way that we move, and so navigating that, and then of course having Christopher Scott, amazing choreographer, and Emilio as well to be there to guide us. And also, dance in general, and what I've really learned, really is a whole conversation without saying anything, and we definitely learned how to find the fun in that and the little goofy conversational moments without saying anything, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the thing that led the whole process, is like how are these characters meeting each other in this moment, and what are we like saying to each other, and so that was what was really fun about it. We had time to rehearse, which I think is like a real luxury when you're making a movie. You don't always have like a full-on rehearsal process, but we got to like get to know each other and get to know ourselves in this moment, which was really cool.
Oh man, for the dance itself, I think it was like a month and a half, maybe 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was kind of hard to say goodbye to it after we filmed it, and we're like, we've been working on this for what seems like so long, but it still has a place in me, I think. If I really wanted to, I could probably go back and do some of the moves for sure.
Maybe I'd have to watch it a few times. But I do remember that I will never forget the
yeah, the little,
that's true. Okay,
the
that's
hand
fair.
movements, that was probably the trickiest part to get down, for me anyways, but it was a lot, and it was also a lot of fun. This is an amazing, wild start to my career, really, because this is my first ever big professional project ever, and wild that it's Wicked. But prior to that, I grew up and started out doing local community theater, and then I did that through high school, and then the question of what do you want to do for the rest of your life came up, and I was like, do I stay here in my small town and do the more realistic route, or do I go and try? And I ended up trying and moving to California, went to performing arts college, and then out of college auditioned quite a bit for a year, and then Wicked came to me, and here we are.
Bach was so fun to play. It was challenging because there's a huge responsibility. So many people love Wicked and love Bach, and I wanted to do right by everybody who loves this show already. But I think that I am so in love with Bach. I just think he's like wonderful, and I felt grateful to play him. So in that way, it wasn't so much challenging as it was, kind of inspiring. And I'm excited for people to see Bach and Nessa's journey over the course of this movie and the next one.
Yeah, absolutely.